Hello everyone, and welcome to Education USA Week. This week, university representatives, alumni, and our team from Education USA Japan have but a single goal: to help you achieve your dream of studying in the United States. Throughout the week, we will be holding seminars to explain many important study abroad topics, including college selection, writing essays, recommendation letters, scholarships, and study abroad for professionals. Our Education USA advisors are available and eager to help you discover all the options to study in the United States. This is a time of historic strength for the U.S.-Japan partnership, which is supported by the close personal bonds between the American and Japanese people. By studying abroad, you are making a tremendous contribution to fortifying the strength of our relationship and ensuring it endures for generations to come. I hope you will make the most of Education USA Week and wish you the best as you take the first steps in your USA study abroad adventure. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us for the Education USA webinar, Common Application for High School Students. I would like to invite our presenters, Ms. Meredith Lombardi from the Common Application and Ms. Pat Wrobel from Binghamton University, State University of New York. Meredith and Pat, do you please begin your presentation?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and good evening to you. Thank you so much, Yukiko, and thank you, Education USA Japan, for hosting us today. I am going to go ahead and share my slides so that you can see, and then we'll get started. Okay, I hope everyone can see this okay. As you can see, possibly in my background, while it may be evening there, it is still early morning where Pat and I are today. So it is, you may see the sunrise in a little bit. So we thought we would just start by doing some introductions so you can get to know us. My name is Meredith Lombardi, and I work at Common App. I work on our Access and Equity team, and I do basically outreach with counselors and with students to help them better understand the application process. Prior to joining Common App, I was a high school counselor, so I worked in high schools directly with students, and I graduated from Emory with my undergraduate degree in Georgia, and then I went to the University of Maryland for my master's in school counseling. Pat, do you want to do an introduction? Oh, you're on mute, Pat.
Sorry. Konnichiwa. Thank you for having us. I'm Pat Wrobel, and I work in international admissions at Binghamton University, State University of New York. I've been at this university for over 30 years, as well as taking some time off to work for a global electronics firm in Binghamton, and then I returned to the university. So I've been working with international students, both in the Career Center and now in international admissions. So I'm very, very excited to be here today to work with Meredith and talk to you about the Common App.
Great. And as was mentioned at the beginning, as we are presenting, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. We've certainly built in time at the end to answer your questions. So if we're not answering them along the way, we will get to them at the end. the structure for today is Pat will give you a brief overview of Binghamton University so you can get to know their campus better. I will give you an update on who Common App is as an organization. We'll really talk about how to approach the application with a lot of great tips from Pat. Then we will connect you with some tools that you can use during this application process. And as I said, have plenty of time at the end for your questions. As we're going through this, you know, it's always good to kind of recenter and think about what brought you here today. What are the reasons that get you excited about continuing your education beyond secondary school or high school? And to have that help drive your reasons for pursuing college or university and possibly in the United States.
So this is my campus, Binghamton University, State University of New York, hardly my campus, but it is the campus that I'm affiliated with. This campus is in upstate New York, and you'll see that in a moment from our map. We are one of the 4 university centers in the State University of New York system, which is the largest higher educational system in the country, in that it includes 64 campuses, 4 university centers, about 32 four-year colleges, and 32 two-year colleges, community colleges. We also have campuses at Cornell. There are public aspects of the Cornell campus so that you could be looking at that as well. But Binghamton is one of the 4 university centers. The others are Buffalo, Stony Brook, and Albany, just to be fair to everyone here. So could I have the next slide, please? You can see that Binghamton is located in the middle of the state. We are 3 hours from New York, 5 hours from Toronto, 5 hours from Montreal and Boston, and Washington, D.C. So this is a very good location. As you can see from the pictures, we are not in a large urban area. We are really in a suburban area or a rural area surrounded by beautiful hills. Very, very peaceful. This campus has a nature preserve, which 160 acres, where many students do biological research, environmental research, as well as just enjoy the beauty of nature. Next slide, please. Binghamton University has 6 schools. Harper College of Arts and Sciences is the intellectual heart of the university. Students in each of the other 5 schools at Binghamton will typically take 50% of their curriculum in Harper College of Arts and Sciences. The College of Arts and Sciences will offer programs in humanities, which includes English, languages, linguistics, art, music, theater, and then social sciences, which are political science, history, geography, anthropology, etc. And then the science and math. So you would have the traditional physical sciences, you would have biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics, geology are all part of Harper College. The School of Management at Binghamton is one of the most prestigious schools of management. 80% of Binghamton alumni work in the New York City area. So we're talking about over almost 100,000 alumni in the greater New York City area in all kinds of industries. The School of Management offers 2 curricula, 2 degrees, one in accounting and one in business administration, with concentrations in finance, in analytical data analytics, in entrepreneurship, supply chain management, marketing, leadership and consulting, entrepreneurship. So this school is a smaller school, but very prestigious, offers incredible internships to international students as well. You can expect when you come to Binghamton, you should bring a suit because almost immediately you will be interviewing with employers. Many employers are on our campus each day of the academic year. I'd like to also go over to this school, the Thomas J. Watson College of Engineering and Applied Science. Well, this school will offer degrees in biomedical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, and also systems and industrial engineering. And then it also houses computer science. So students who are applying to computer science would be applying to the Thomas J. Watson College of Engineering and Applied Science. And just a fun fact here, the Thomas J. Watson College of Engineering is named after Thomas J. Watson, who is the founder of the IBM Corporation, and Binghamton, New York is the home. Endicott, New York, part of our Triple Cities, is the home of IBM. The Decker College of Nursing and Health Sciences is also an incredible school, which will be moving into a new facility next to the Wilson Hospital in our area. This college offers the nurse practitioner degree, the BS in nursing. It accepts transfer students. It also accepts students in what is called the accelerated track for a student who earned a degree, a bachelor's degree in some other field and now wishes to become a nurse. So this is a one-year intensive program for people with a degree, something other than nursing. The traditional program, first-year students apply to nursing are accepted into that program, but half of the class comes in through transfer as well. Then we have the College of Community and Public Affairs, which is really a program that has two majors, one in human development and the other in the Bachelor's of Social Work. Students in this major are often very interested in learning how to advocate for example, for healthcare, for housing issues, work in their communities. This is a degree that prepares them very well for that. And then our sixth school is the School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, which one typically does not really get into until your third year at Binghamton. This program leads to both the BS degree and the PharmD degree, a doctorate in pharmacy after 6 years. And what is unique about this program is that it does offer both the Bachelor of Science degree and the PharmD degree. So students who wish to go on to graduate school to do research in pharmaceutical sciences would be well advised to consider this program because of the fact that it offers both degrees. And that is Binghamton. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of our students, we are a medium-sized university. Of the 4 university centers in the State University of New York system, Binghamton is the smallest and the most selective. Undergraduates, we have 14,000 undergraduates. We receive 41,000, almost 41,800 applications for these, for about 2,500 seats each year. Or excuse me, 3,000 now, 3,000 seats, 2,906. We enroll about 1,024 transfers. We have international students, 2,251 from 100 countries. Next slide, please. And just to be able to see the quality of our students, the high school GPA is either 93 to 98 or 3.7 to 3.9. That's the typical mid 50%. 25% will not be as good as this. 25% will be higher. And this is for the university as a whole. For example, the School of Nursing is the most difficult to get into. So you could expect that all of the applications of those students who are admitted will be at the high end of even this 50%. And SATs and ACTs, we are test optional this year, and I'll be happy to talk about that in the Q&A if you're interested, what that means. But this is the mid 50% of scores for students who are applying to Binghamton. And when someone had asked in advance, what other things should I be concerned about when applying to a college? Well, this number right here is a very important number. First year retention rate. This shows student satisfaction with the university that they are in. The national average for public universities is 62%. At Binghamton, we are very proud of the fact that our first year retention rate has typically, at least for the last 7 years, has been in the 90% range. So we are very, very proud of that. And I would ask you to make sure that this is one of your questions. Binghamton does offer over 130 different majors and programs. And just so that you know, 50% of the students who enter Binghamton enter as undecideds, which means they haven't decided on what it is that they plan to study. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. I just wanted you to see that Binghamton has a Nobel Prize winner this past year. We're very, very proud of this. And Professor Whittingham also won this he shared this prize with one of the leading researchers in Japan. So this is a shared prize between US and Japan. So we're very proud of that. Next slide. Oh, we'll take this. I'll come back to this later. So we'll come back to this later. Okay. Okay, we're going to switch to Common App. Thank you very much for that.
All right, thank you, Pat, for that introduction. And as Pat mentioned, if you have questions about Binghamton, either now or at the end, we will definitely have time to address those. When you see, as we go through the Common App, you will get a sense that Binghamton is one of Common App's member institutions. So who we are, let me turn my video on. Common App is a nonprofit membership organization. So you may hear it and think about it's the application that you could use to apply to colleges, which is true, but we started as a membership organization in 1975 with 15 institutions that joined us as members, and each year have grown since then to now 45 years later, we are over 900 member institutions. This can look very busy to you, but this is a map view of Common App members. You can see that we have, most of our members are in the United States. We do have a member institution in all 50 US states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. But we also do have institutions that are international as well. So students who are looking to study in other countries can find 62 international members in 18 countries outside of the US, which does also include 2 institutions in Japan. When you think about that graph where I showed you how there's growth each year in membership, that means even this current year for the graduating class of 2021 or those who are looking to enroll in school next year, there are 42 officially new member institutions who have joined Common App. Those institutions are in 20 different states. About 50% of those are public institutions like Pat's institution at Binghamton. And the institutions on the right are the list of some of those new members, the public institutions, but again, there are others as well. And if you wanted to see the new list, you can go to our blog at commonapp.org/blog. In terms of who is using the application, each year we have just over 1 million students who use Common App to apply to college. The majority of those students, around 91%, are in the US, but then we have this 9% who are coming from all over the world, from 213 countries and territories all over the world. So we certainly support and welcome, and our member institutions support and welcome applications from students like you. I can, or you can see on the left-hand side, kind of the leading countries that we're getting applications from, and from Japan, you're right there around number 22 overall in terms of applying through Common App. This slide here will give you the sense of what we saw last year from Common App, or from students in Japan. So last year there were 576 students from Japan who submitted 3,500 applications using Common App. And those students applied to nearly 400 of our member institutions. So while you may see this, top 15 here on the left, keep in mind that with a membership of over 900 and members who are supportive and are looking to have students like you attend their institutions, we can see that students from Japan are looking for that diversity and looking for a college that's the right fit. Also, if you follow social media, we would love to connect with you. This has been a very challenging year, the year 2020, beginning with the global pandemic, and just wanted to make sure that we let you know that we are very supportive of international students who are seeking to study in the United States. We, follow what messaging goes out with from institutions and our government, and please know that we are supportive, our members are supportive, colleges want to be with you. I encourage you to, if there are schools that you are interested in, to follow them on social media, to check their websites for their international student admissions, so that you can always stay up to date with any policy changes or just statements like the ones that we have made. So that's just a quick kind of introduction to us as an organization. Now what I'll do is kind of walk you through the process for navigating the application. This is the commonapp.org website. There is lots of resources here before you even dive into the application. First place to definitely go is simply to see which schools are on Common App. So if you go to commonapp.org/explore, you will be able to look up in particular colleges to see if they are members, but you can also use the filter options. So you can see which schools use our first year application or our transfer application. How you can look for schools based on size, the type of campus setting. You can look at schools based on the type of aid that they offer, including there's a filter for offering aid for international students. You can look at map views. Pat showed for Binghamton where they're located. Especially given how large the United States is, I think it's very helpful to be able to see where a school is located versus just saying it's in New York. New York alone as a state is a very large state. So being able to see where a school is located, you can print view any list that you create after using filters. All of that here is on Explore. Also, again, Pat had mentioned, and we're happy to discuss, but certainly given the current crisis in the world and so many testing centers closing and your inability to possibly or ACT tests. For Common App, it's over optional policy this year for students entering next year. And if you can find a filter, and if you want a full list for even schools that are not part of Common App, if you go to fairtest.org, you can learn more about and see lists of full schools that are test optional. Also on Common App's website, just so you're aware, there is a global search if there's ever text that you're looking for on our website. When you go to the Explore page, you can also learn about each college that's on Common App. So here's the example that is here for SUNY for Binghamton. You can see application requirements. The schools have also provided links to their virtual tours, so you're able to take a tour of their campuses. You can also see images from the schools, and you can learn more about the academic programs at the institutions. So when you go to that, some of their programs, now again, thinking about what Pat shared about Binghamton, you know, where she mentioned over 130 programs, certainly those are not all going to be listed here. So the colleges are highlighting some of their programs, but you'll learn the most amount of information by going directly to their websites. But you can add some of the programs that they are highlighting, and then you can also, all of this text is searchable. So for example, if you see that there's something about nursing, you can also search for nursing on the website, and it will pull up every Common App. Website also has road, may be looking to study next year. Some of you may be thinking that it's 2 years from now. So you can look at roadmap, application and recommender guides on the website, parent and family resources, all of that information on commonapp.org. You can click apply now or create an account. One of the features of Common App is something we call account rollover, which means that you can create an account at any time and your information can remain and stay year to year. So officially we launch on August 1st, but you do not have to wait until August 1st to create an account. Certainly a note, and depending on where you are on your journey, address and password you would like, and that remains the same. What rolls over each year is anything that you answer on the Common App tab. And I will show you the visual of that, I think, on the next slide. But anything that you put on the Common App tab will carry over from year to year. What does not roll over is any information on the My Colleges tab. So while your college list will carry over, you do not need to answer any college-specific questions prior to August 1. Now, the good news is we are after August 1st, so once you do go in the system at this point, those are the questions for the admission cycle. Right, so once you've created your account, you get into the application. I always like to start on the college search tab because this is where you'll actually go to add schools to your list. If you know what school you're looking to apply to, you can just type in the name of the school. But if you're looking or not really sure and you want to use some filters, you are always welcome to use filters. You can find schools that are distance away. Let's say that you wanted to, you can look that way. You can all national applicants. That's one of the filters. There are filters on schools that don't have writing requirements for essays. There are filters on testing policies. So those are just some examples of the different search by particular states if you want to look that way. The other piece that's important on the college search tab is the requirements grid, where it says application requirements. When you click on that, you can look up any school in the Common App membership. Writing requirements are their testing requirements, their letter of recommendation requirements grid. It is downloadable, but keep in mind with 922 member colleges, I think that document is currently 37 pages. So, but using the online version where you can look up that on the dashboard tab, you can actually get to the requirements grid specifically just for the schools on your list. So it's almost like having your own personalized spreadsheet. So the Common App tab, this is where you're going to go to complete the main parts of your application. The 7 sections of the Common App tab are the profile section, the family section, education, testing, activities, writing, and courses and grades. Each one within the system works like an accordion style. So, or you go to a section and then there are several questions in subsections. With the Common App, there are embedded videos. So you will, if you need a tutorial for any section, you can get to that video. There are also links to frequently asked questions and to our help center or our solution center. You will have access to them on the right-hand side. So if you ever do need support, you can contact them very easily. Keep in mind with the Common App that not all questions are required questions. If it's required, you will see a red asterisk. If it's not, you will not. One of the questions we often hear from international students is about class rank or GPA scales, where they don't have a rank and are, don't know how to report this. And so if you don't have a rank, you can just select none, and you don't have to feel that you need to respond to that particular question. Pat, I'd also like to invite you to provide some input here. We get a lot of questions about, unweighted GPA versus weighted GPA, and if students don't have a weighted GPA. Can you talk a little bit more about weighted and unweighted GPAs?
Schools that have weighted GPAs are typically going to be acknowledging the fact that students took more rigorous courses of their offerings. And so very often we will see both GPAs on the transcript. We'll see a weighted GPA and an unweighted GPA if the school follows that practice. It will be up to the universities that you apply to as to which GPA they will use. Some universities will use the weighted GPAs, others will use the unweighted GPA. And if your school is using a different marking system, please understand that US universities will convert whatever grading system you are using to whatever it is that they need to make a decision on your application. You do not have to do that for them. The universities will do it on their own as they review your application.
Yep, and thanks, Pat. I would add that we'll talk a little bit about the different recommender types, but the person who is invited as your counselor to submit forms on your behalf, they are also providing a school profile, which talks about your school, and they will discuss whether or not there's weighting or unweighting of your grades. And so the colleges know to review your application within the context of your individual school. With so many different schools, so many different policies, schools just, they understand that every school has a different grading scale, and so they'll read you within the understanding of the school you're coming from. Okay, one of the 7 sections of the Common App is the activity section. This is where certainly students can spend a lot of time completing. You can report up to 10 activities, but you do not have to report up to 10 activities. There are different categories to help you in this section, including things that you may not think about, like family responsibilities and work or volunteering or hobbies, anything that you are doing outside of class time to help a college get to know you and your activities outside of the classroom. If there's something that you know, as you're doing this section, you're going to see that you have some limits in terms of the character limits for the type of activity. If you ever want to elaborate and talk more about an activity, you can always do that in the additional information section, which is part of the Common App. Also, people use the additional information section if they have additional experiences they want to talk about. Some of our colleges on Common App will allow you to upload a resume. So it's just important to get a sense of what you want to share and then find the right spaces in the application to share that information. Again, thinking about what you can put in here, this is a great time to reflect and think about what experiences and activities have been most meaningful to you. So you certainly don't have to list everything that you've done in the last 3 or 4 years of your life, but really what has had an impact on you. And Pat, I would love to, if you want to jump in to talk about how you all review activities and any tips you can give for students.
Yes, well, I realize that there's a limitation on how much you can write about an activity. We really would prefer to see why the activity was important to you, what you learned from it, what you got out of it, maybe what leadership positions you held in it. But for example, you may have been involved in your school orchestra. And so rather than just indicating that you were the first chair or the second chair in an orchestra, you might also say participation in the orchestra also taught me how to manage my time. So something that gave you, that you learned from the activity or reason why the activity was important. The concept of family responsibility. Some students take responsibility for their grandparents, which then leads them into an interest in the fields in psychology of gerontology or into nursing or something along that line. So if your activity prompted an interest, an academic interest, I would also indicate that there.
Great. The next section I want to discuss is the writing section. In the writing section, you have the opportunity to write the Common App personal essay. And you can choose from 7 different essay prompts listed here. Personal growth, these are some of the themes that come out from the prompt. So personal growth, facing a challenge or adversity, talking about your background, identity, interest, or talent you have, discussing your intellectual curiosity, problem solving, challenging an idea, or even if none of the other prompts speak to you, there is also a topic of your choice that you can select. So we give you options, and there's no right or wrong selection. These prompts are there to help get you thinking about the writing process. It's not that you are trying to answer a specific question. In addition to the essay, there's also this additional information section that I mentioned, where if there's any part of your application that you were not able to elaborate or discuss more, you could always put information in the additional information section. We are integrated with Google Drive. So if you do use Google Drive and you would like to put or grab text like from your essay, you can grab that from Google Drive. And also just wanted to say with the Common App essay that it is not always required for schools. So in your application, you will actually see if a school requires the essay or not. But even if they don't require it, you are always welcome to submit it as an optional essay. In this additional information or writing section, you are also going to see a new COVID-19 question. We developed this working with our application advisory committee of members, as well as our counselor advisory committee. And it is an optional question that is 250 words in length, so it is not essay length. We are not looking for you to write an essay. You have the personal essay to be able to do that. It is separate from that existing additional information question. So again, you have that space if you need it. But it is really there for you to discuss the impact, if you want to, of COVID-19 on you personally. There is a separate question that counselors will also be asked to answer about the impact on the school. So you don't have to feel that you have to respond about the impact on your school, but more specifically about any impact to you personally. Things like impact on your health or well-being, safety, your family circumstances, your future plans, or an impact on your education, such as access to technology or a quiet study space. Even thinking about if you had planned to do an internship or a certain activity and it got canceled, this is a great place for you to capture that information. Pat, can you just kind of chime in on things that you might see or expect to see if students did want to answer this question?
Yes, I think you actually, Meredith, positioned this very well. First of all, it's an optional question. If depending upon your location in the world, the impact of COVID-19 may be less than in some other areas. If you feel it didn't impact you, please don't feel a responsibility to answer this question. However, for most people, it probably has had some impact, if not major, then at least a minor impact. And what we would like to see here is how you used your time during this period. If you were in quarantine, for example, what did you do? If you were a student interested in art, did you use this time to explore art in some manner, either through your own work or by reading about it, by looking at various artists' work, whatever it is? So what we're looking for is effectively, how did you manage your time? What did you think was important? How did you think about COVID-19 and its impact on your life?
Following up on that, there is currently a initiative out of Harvard's Graduate School of Education called Making Caring Common. And there is a statement that has been made and signed off on by over 350 college admission deans, saying that trying to help students think about life during quarantine and what you're currently facing in this application season during the ongoing pandemic. And they really emphasize taking care of yourself and taking care of others as being the number one priority. So you can read the statement when you get these slides if you want to learn more about the statement. But in essence, it's saying, we understand what is going on right now. We understand that you are not able to do all the things that you wanted to do. And during this current pandemic, number one, we want you to take care of yourself. So self-care, number one. Number two, your academic work will be looked at within the context of any obstacles you have faced. So if your school went to virtual, or you had classes canceled, or you were not able to take an SAT or ACT, you will be evaluated within that context. Number three, thinking about if you had the opportunity or you were able to provide any service or contribution to others. Again, if you had to take care of a family member or there were something, again, in your community that you responded to, that is valued. Also the family contributions, which kind of ties into that. And then the extracurricular and summer activities, again, stating specifically in this statement that you will not be disadvantaged for not engaging in a particular activity because you were not able to. So I know it can be very stressful when you are not able to do the things you want to do, but please know that there are hundreds of colleges that are saying, we understand what's going on and we will still look at you as a valid candidate, and we want to get to know you better for the things that you have been able to do. This kind of just sums up the writing section, but do you have any tips on this one, Pat, thinking about how students approach either their essay or even using the additional information section?
Yes, actually, the essay and the additional information sections, which historically have been part of Common App, are two of the sections that I think really tie everything in that application together. And what's important about the essay is, as it stated on one of the slides that Meredith showed, was that it should be your voice. Please do not have this essay written by someone else. It needs to be your voice. Whoever else might be trying to advise you, probably you can take their advice, but the final essay should be yours. The topic you select should be a topic that you have thought about, that you have spent time thinking about what you're going to write, that you have prepared an outline of it, and that everything that you include in that essay topic represents your experience or your thinking about a particular experience. That's very, very important. The other thing that I noticed that students try to do is that they try to use language that is not part of their common vocabulary. We are not going to be impressed by using words that may be synonyms, but may not be appropriate in the context in which you're using the word. So please try to use a vocabulary that is comfortable for you or with you, and please make sure that the ideas that you express are ideas that are yours and that you can substantiate in that essay. I do have to also say that very often some of the most interesting information that we get is in the other section where you add additional information. that can be, for example, if you had a semester in which your grades do not reflect your usual performance, taking the time to explain what happened there or why it happened, what you gained from that experience will be very, very helpful to your application. So in that time, if in that space of other information, please use that wisely to indicate to your readers what it is about you that may not have been expressed somewhere else in that application.
Okay. I know that we have just hit the hour and we do want to make sure that we get to questions. So we will try to move a little bit more quickly through the next few slides, but I think we're getting towards the end. So we will have, again, plenty of time for questions. So I think maybe 5 more minutes of content. But switching now over to the My Colleges tab, this is where you actually answer college-specific questions and where you ultimately submit your application to any colleges that are on your list. You will invite any recommenders here on the My Colleges tab. So again, like inviting your counselor or teacher recommenders will happen here. You'll also see that colleges may have an additional writing supplement, an additional essay, and so you would submit that here as well. Thinking about recommenders, there are 4 types that you can invite in Common App. The counselor type, you may have a counselor at your role or at your school. There may not be someone who has a counselor title, but it's anyone who has access to your academic records and can talk about you within the context of the entire school population. So we know that in some international schools, sometimes this is a teacher or advisor and not necessarily a specific counselor. It can also sometimes be a principal or the head of school. Then you have the teacher recommenders, people who have taught you in the classroom. Every college on Common App's membership sets different requirements. So some don't require any teacher letters. Some will say that they'll accept more than 2, but there's no college that requires more than 2 teacher letters of recommendation. So just to keep that in mind, and you will see that on your My Colleges tab. There's also an other recommender type for anyone who's outside of the school that you may want to get a letter from, like an employer or a coach, or just some examples. And then there's an advisor role, which is not anyone submitting forms or letters for you, but if you have someone that you are working with and you want to share your in-progress application, you can share that with up to 3 people who can then track your application progress. Maybe I'm going to skip this, Pat, just in terms of letters of recommendation, just giving time. But do you want to, we've already talked about several tips. I think it's just a good place maybe to pause for you to say any other tips and pieces of advice for students in the overall application process.
Yes, I think, first of all, I think it's very important right in the demographics section that students indicate the schools that they attended. Many students will have attended more than one school. In addition, particularly in Japan, where in the Japanese system, if I'm not mistaken, middle school is grades 7, 8, and 9. And many of the US universities will require the most recently completed 3 years of high school education. So assuming that you are now in your senior year, this would mean your grade 9 or grade 3 middle school grades, grade 10 and grade 11. So we need to see what schools you have attended. Please make sure that the chronological order of those schools is represented. Please make sure that the demographic information is complete, that you have entered all of this. Please do not inflate scores. Indicate if you're going to put your scores down on various tests. Please make sure that they are accurate. Do not superscore. Please indicate the scores that you have. It raises some question when the official scores come in and they do not match the scores that are listed on the application. So this is where truth becomes very, very important. And I know that some students will use this to superscore, but that's not the purpose. Please put down the actual test results if you're going to do that at all. I think probably everything else. Please make sure that you're looking at what each school is requiring. We're all different. That's the unfortunate part. Every USA university is requiring probably very different things. Some will require official copies of your transcripts. Some will require official test scores sent by the testing agencies. So please be sure to make sure that you know what each college or university is requiring. Some schools do, as Meredith said, want more than one recommendation. Others only want one, and they'll specify that that one should come from a counselor or a teacher. So following the directions for application on the website of each university to which you are applying is paramount to being a successful applicant. Also, one of the points that is somewhat humorous, but maybe not for the applicant, is that the student will write all reasons why they want to attend your university, the university to which the application is being sent, but then they will indicate that it's a different university. So make sure you read over your application, put a night between sending your application and preparing it so that you can look at it with fresh eyes. You can have other people take a look at it. We recommend that, but make sure that all of the information in there represents your information, not someone else's.
All right, I'm gonna jump through this. Just wanted to let you know that there are certainly ways for you to learn more about colleges. Again, you can use Common App's website if you want to look at the virtual tours of our member institutions. The National Association for College Admission Counseling, also known as NACAC, they are hosting several free virtual college fairs coming up in the next few months. And so you are able to connect with colleges and college representatives through NACAC. That's the virtualcollegefairs.org. You can attend things like this that you're doing today with Education USA to connect with colleges. There also were some fairs that were hosted in the spring and summer through StriveScan and CALFO, and the recordings of those sessions are all still available for you to attend. So there's lots of opportunities for you to meet with schools. I know at the end, Pat also has shared information if you want to connect with her specifically. So colleges are hosting Zoom meetings and virtual visits where you can continue to get to know them over these next few months to help you make your decisions. We have resources like Common App Ready on our website to just talk you through some of the parts of the application process. And we are available 24/7 for support. So you can go out to our Solution Center websites like app support, and you will be able to get support and help there. Did have to just say quickly that Reach Higher is part of Common App, which is an initiative former First Lady Michelle Obama's. There are great resources for students through Reach Higher, like a guide to your first year of college and a year of firsts. These are partnerships with YouTube and Instagram. So lots of great content through Reach Higher. Also on social media, Better Make Room, where you can go out and talk about why you are looking to apply to college and attend college. We always have lots of updates on social media, so we hope you will follow us. And again, just rounding this out, hope that you think through, now you've heard all this information, what are the next steps that you want to take? Whether it's researching more schools, connecting with more schools, creating your Common App account, whatever it is, just to help you get to that next place you want to be. I know it's been a long hour, and hopefully the internet will continue supporting our discussion. Would love to open this up now for your questions.
Thank you very much for your great presentation. I think it was very informative and helpful. We have several questions. So let me read the first question. Is there a limit to the number of schools you can apply to using Common App? Would you answer this question?
Yeah, so Common App has a technology limit of 20 schools that you can add within your application. So you can, online system, you can apply to up to 20. This year we saw 5.6 million total applications from the 1 million students. So that tells you that on average, we see around 5 schools that students are applying to. So it's less than 1% that do use the full 20 institutions. If for some reason a student does apply to all 20 and needs and wants to apply to more, they would need to reach out to the individual college, and that institution can either provide them with an alternative way to apply. Many schools have different application platforms that they use beyond Common App, so that's an option, or there is always a paper option if the online system doesn't support the student beyond the 20.
I would like to just also add that many of the schools of the students who are in attendance here will also have limits on what they would advise a student to do in terms of the number of applications. And I would support that, because part of this is already the selection process. You as a student should be researching the institutions to which you are applying. Very often we advise students to take schools that are typically, you see our ranges that fit if you look at the profile of the student who attends that school, do you fit into that profile? Now, you can also apply to a school that might be what we call a reach, but your selection of schools should not be all schools that would be a reach for you. Pick schools that fit your profile, that your profile matches the profile of the student profile at the school, and do your research. There's really no reason to be applying to 20 colleges or universities. 5 to 7 is probably a very good number of institutions if you have done your work up front, and we will advocate for that. That's what we try to do. All of the colleges and universities, especially in this virtual world, I think it's actually much better. We have virtual meetings that you can come to a website, you can have a virtual meeting with a counselor for 15 to 30 minutes to talk to that counselor about your interests in their university or what you're looking for. So there are many, many ways to be able to take a look at an individual college in the virtual world that didn't exist before, frankly.
Let me go to the next question. In the activity session, is it possible to write experiences not only about during high school, but also before entrance of high school?
I responded to that. If you're going to do something like that, then obviously it's important to you. I think it would be important to your reader to know why you didn't continue the activity. There could be good reason for that. So if you're going to go that route, please also indicate why it was not possible to continue the activity through secondary school.
Okay, let me read the next one. In Japan, because 12th grade report cards are out, should we do 10th, 11th, and 12th for the common app? You mentioned that in America, 3 years of grade will be submitted. But in Japan, we already have the 12th grades.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, once again, each USA college or university will be very specific about what grades they want to see. So some schools, some US universities will only want 2 years of grades, but typically they will want completed grades. My advice to students is to first look at what every college or university is asking for. If they are asking for completed full years, then that would be, for example, for Binghamton, that would be grade 9, grade 10, and 11. However, if grade 12, if you already have grade 12 grades and they show a continuing improvement, or they show that, for example, you were taking very rigorous courses and you have adequate or better than adequate grades, sure, submit it. Always submit your best self. Meet the requirements of the college or the university, but if you have additional information that indicates that now you were taking higher level A levels or IB, particularly IB courses or APs, yes, please submit that transcript as well. Meet the requirements first.
Let me read the next one. If a student has attended some other schools prior to transferring to the current school, is it acceptable for the current school to upload official transcripts from all the schools on behalf of the others, as well by endorsing the official transcripts from previous schools?
Yeah, that's a very good question. A very sophisticated question. That will also depend on the school. I know that Binghamton will want the official transcript from every school attended. We will not, even if a school that you're currently attending includes those grades on its transcript, we find that we do not accept that because there's often a translation of grades that is not consistent with the way we do it at our university. So once again, you need to follow the rules of whatever the college or university to which you are applying, what they say about the transcripts. If they will accept the transcript with all of your previous coursework listed on the current school transcript, then fine. But if they do not, then yes, you will need to get a transcript from each institution that you attended. I will tell you that the current institution, if the current institution also has official transcripts, very often we will take the official transcripts from previous schools from the current school being attended. So it's always something that you need to check with the university to which you are applying, or read on their website in terms of their conditions for what is needed for application.
Yeah, I would also add your counselor, your school counselor, does have the ability to upload multiple transcripts. So your counselor at your current school can upload your current transcript and can also upload the transcripts from your previous schools that you attended.
If they're at that school.
Okay, next one. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know the way to create an account of the Common application. I have tried to create my account over and over again, but it doesn't work. I filled in all blanks, but I couldn't go to the next page. Just a circle appeared and back to the previous page. I have tried it with my other email address. Unfortunately, it didn't work well.
Okay. So everything does begin at commonapp.org, where you go to create your account. If you are having issues where it's not recognizing your email, or perhaps it thinks that you have multiple accounts, our help team, our support center can certainly help you, and they can look up your email address and help you get into your account. So I will be sharing their contact information, but let me just show you on the screen here real quickly. This email, app support at commonapp.net. If you send them an email and say that you are having an issue accessing your account, they can get you all set up and squared away.
Okay, let me go to the next one. If ACT is optional, is it good to ask colleges if I should submit it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
If ACT test is optional, is it good to ask colleges if I should submit it or not?
Oh, okay. Test optional. Excellent. Can I share my screen and show as an example here?
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay. It says that I'm not able to, so let me just show you what here. Okay. Yes. Okay. The question about if you have an SAT score or an ACT score, once again, I think it's important as to what your college or university says. I just want to show you what Binghamton says. We understand that students are facing unprecedented challenges, so Binghamton will not require standardized test scores, SAT for spring 2021, fall 2021, spring 2022. Do we want them? If you want to send them to us, yes. For example, at Binghamton, SATs, EBRW on SAT and ACT English can also be the way you satisfy English proficiency, or the way you demonstrate English proficiency. But for Binghamton, for example, the question about whether or not you will submit SATs and ACTs will be a separate question that we will ask you. And then based on your response as to whether or not you want scores to be considered in your application and for scholarships, that is how we will read your application this year. So if you have, my philosophy of this is always present your best self. So if your scores speak well to your capability, your abilities, then yes, please submit. But please also know that this year, for next fall, for this spring, and for the following spring, SATs and ACTs will not be required by any school in the SUNY system, in the State University of New York system. So we have an FAQ on our page. So everything, and I'm sure most universities will have that, so you can read about should I submit test scores? It's up to each student. This is what we say at Binghamton. So you'll see we will send you an email asking you to inform us of your choice. But this again is what my university is doing. You need to find out what every university that you are applying to is doing, but we have this on our apply page, test optional FAQs. And I'm sure that any university to which you are applying in the US will be addressing this on their admissions page as well. If you have questions, you can always write to the admissions office at the university.
Okay, it's almost the time to end the webinar. So the next question is going to be the last one. Essay pro tip Google Drive. Please explain again. Not understand clearly on this regard. Meredith, would you answer this?
Sure, of course, yes. So Common App is integrated with Google Drive, which means that if there are certain questions in the application that you will see a little Google Drive icon. So if you have written answers in, let's say, a Google Doc, you can actually get and pull the text from those Google Docs directly into your application. The essay specifically on Common App is a text box, so you can't grab a document, but you can copy the, the text from your Google Doc, and you can pull it into your Common App. If there are places, let's say for the college-specific questions, where there is a document upload, again, you will see this Google Drive icon, and you're able to actually pull a specific document from Google Drive if you use Google Drive.